Sian came down the steep steps past the contemporary art gallery, her eyes tracing the Nottingham lace patterns in its concrete walls. She could feel the history around her, narrow marsh as it used to be, full of crime and squalor. She felt separated from the slums and violence by the finest of membranes, like if she pushed hard enough she could burst through and find herself years back in time. The sign from the old Loggerheads pub was rattling in the wind, making a crashing sound against its frame. Sian checked up and down the street for any signs of trouble, but could see nothing except leaves being blown and buffeted against the pavement. She could hear Elvis, barking and howling the other side of the door. He wasn't usually that bothered when she went out for a couple of hours, but the combination of the high winds and being somewhere new were probably to blame. She dug into her bag to get her keys and his barking got more urgent. "It's just me, daft boy," she said. She opened the door and he came bounding over, doing the dance of love he did whenever she came home, nuzzling her, then rocking from back to front paws. She leaned down to give the German Shepherd a proper scratch behind his ears and let him lick her nose, then locked and bolted the front door, shutting out narrow marsh and the dark. Elvis ran through the hallway to the back door. Sian grabbed the key from a hook on the wall. He was trying to force the door open before she could unlock it. Finally he burst outside and jumped into the air, barking at the night sky. The house felt damp and chilly, so Sian went into the kitchen and turned the heating on. She wasn't sleepy enough for bed. She rooted through the boxes, searching for something to drink, and glasses. She could only find an old bottle of amaretto and the plastic beakers from the bathroom. She poured herself a drink and slipped through to the living room, collapsing on the sofa and kicking off her shoes. Sitting back, Sian tried to relax. She took a sip from her drink. It had a thickness and a rich, high taste. She couldn't shake the idea that part of the slick flavour was old toothpaste. She heard Elvis scratching at the cellar door again. She ignored him for as long as she could. Then he popped his head into the room and stared at her. "Fine," she said, putting down her drink and walking back through to the hall. She closed and locked the back door. "I can see I'm not going to get any peace here. Let's go and find out what's down there." Sian moved her toolbox and opened the cellar door, flicking on the light switch. There was a bright flash below and then darkness as the bulb blew. "How's that for a sign?" she muttered, with a nervous laugh. She tilted the door back and reached into her toolbox, finding a torch. Then she picked up the box in case she needed tools when she got down there. Elvis scratched at the door again, then looked up at her expectantly. "You know, boy, the rule is never go down into the cellar." She smiled at her own joke. And then she pushed open the door and he barged past her and rushed down the stairs, barking. Sian followed him, shining the torch ahead of her. She tripped slightly as she misjudged the last step, then righted herself. At the bottom of the stairs there was a high, sweet smell, reminiscent of old bins. She put the toolbox down on the floor. Elvis was scratching at the far wall and turned towards her, barking. He started to whimper and then paced the floor in a way she'd never seen him do before. Sian felt the temperature of the room drop. She knew this was the effect of adrenaline on her body, but the feeling struck home nonetheless, because Elvis wasn't any old retired police dog. He was a cadaver dog. Elvis had been trained to find the dead.